All right, so we're with marketing director candidate Ian Chu. The first question I wanted to ask you was, why did you want to apply for this position?
For me personally, I felt like, I was already in the marketing committee for ASUCR, and honestly, it wasn't really something that I had gone into with open arms. For me, student politics was never something that was my primary focus when I got into college. Um, and I think my time spent in the marketing committee, seeing, what I could contribute, where I felt like UCR could benefit from me campaigning personally. I felt that it was not imperative necessarily for me to run, but I thought that I had contributed enough, I'd seen enough, and I had enough of an established goal in terms of what I wanted to bring to ASUCR for it to be beneficial for me to run for marketing and promotions director.
My next question was going to be, what experiences do you have that make you qualified? You mentioned the marketing committee. What did you learn from being on that committee that you think will help you in this position?
I think a big thing was just knowing the ins of ASUCR. Definitely having that sort of insight because I feel that in my marketing experience, I work and I run the page for Jabez Barbershop, and so I don't know. Running a page and everything is something that was more natural to me for sure than definitely being a part of student government. Um, and honestly, just being more educated on the subject, knowing like what legislations were and stuff, knowing what goes down at a Senate meeting and everything. And honestly, just being more sensible to the student body, I think was a big learning curve for me because for me, I when I was in high school, it's not like I don't know, being down looking up at people who are in ASB, you get a little spiteful, definitely, and so you don't really try to think of how you could be more inclusive to people who are looking more upwards at you because you're in a position of power if you're in a committee or if you're holding a position. Um, and just little things, like trying to be as inclusive as possible, especially with a diverse group like UCR, and trying to not necessarily be sensitive, but just be more compassionate to people of different backgrounds and demographics, and trying to be more aware of that and not be so, I don't know, like narrow sighted.
There are a lot of students on campus who are unaware of ASUCR, what ASUCR does. How would you change that as marketing director?
So recently, actually, a big thing that I was pressing for um, one of our recent posts was, oh, we need to do a Q&A with Julian on our page, because I was like, oh, like it's not going to go well if we do some posts like, oh, let's do a giveaway or something, and they're like, okay, like where are you getting this money from and stuff? Like, give us back our money for tuition and stuff, and like just communicating with people and being understanding because I think for a lot of people, not just in ASCCR, just people when typically they've held like a position of power or something, or even for you being like editor in chief for the Highlander, sometimes it becomes less of a muscle reflex remembering what people are seeing or assuming when they're not in your position necessarily, so a big thing for me is just having that empathy and understanding that, people aren't going, I shouldn't assume that people are just going to know exactly what ASUCR is doing. And that ties into the whole transparency thing because it's like, like if we had, I'm sure if you like do like some digging, you can find where like your tuition money and stuff is going and stuff. But I think something small like just doing like some sort of graphic breaking down like not just ASUCR responsibilities, but also maybe just giving that transparency and like making it appealing to the public, like, oh, like what you're paying for or why we're not able to refund or something, or just communicating it, people look at UCR, not just UCR, but ASUCR as this sort of like shadow government, and I don't think that there's necessarily any reason for them to feel that way. But at the same time, I understand because we have to be making conscious effort to put it out there, that we're worth trusting. And I think that's something that I would strive for is knowing that I have to earn these people's trust. It's not a given.
And then my next question was about transparency, but more about how would you make meetings more transparent in terms of like what bills are getting passed, who's voting on what in different meetings, whether it's like finance meetings or GCAP meetings or the actual like ASUCR meetings.
Um, Honestly, I feel like it would be a two-part thing. I think ASUCR does a great job of summarizing like what's going down at their Senate meetings and everything. But honestly, I think where it falls short is honestly like maybe it could like for me personally, like I wouldn't want to communicate it in that way because it's like oh, like maybe it would be best if you communicated what's going down at these meetings, maybe not even just in layman's terms, just like in a normal jargon without it being strictly very like I don't know bullet pointed straight like very political and stuff. I think that it would also be helpful, you know, using this marketing platform to be able to um, not maybe summarize in a sense or also just make those Senate meetings more transparent, make them more obvious to the student body, like what we're talking about, and that way we'll get much more constructive criticism. Because I feel that it's kind of just very roundabout, where it's like people are seeing like what we're talking about in this like very like formal summary, and not necessarily either maybe they might be missing the point or we might be communicating it poorly, and because of that, it's just not very productive.
What are some marketing and promotional campaigns that you would like to start if you were elected?
If I were elected, I think I definitely just want to give more power to the student body and to the staff that runs UCR, because that was a big thing for me. Was I while I was in the ASUCR marketing committee, I started this feature called Highlander of the Week, and it was starting with ASUCR members. I wanted to break out of that and start doing more students, but that was something that we had planned for spring. We wanted to see how we did fall, winter with ASCCR members, and then make our way to students. But obviously, that wasn't the case just because of the circumstances. But I think that would definitely be just one example of things I would plan to do. You know, I want to be able to give these students a platform to, you know, like show that we care about them, because I feel that ACCR not only is the reputation typically for it to be like very, you know, elusive, shadow governmenty, it's also given this whole like reputation for being very like I don't know, like self-gratifying. Like it's almost like cyclical. Like it's kind of like ASUCR feeds ASUCR type of thing. Where for me, I would want to work much more externally. I want to be able to give back to students, you know, who have like a, you know, like just like a special talent or something, or have like a story that's worth sharing, you know, um, or just being able to talk about our community rather than talking about things that are happening just internally, you know. Um, and I think that's one of the things that I would strive for in my campaign, is ensuring that we're breaking out of this sort of niche political stance. You know, I want it to be more communal. I want ACCR, especially the marketing committee, to be people who are all very like-minded in a sense, where we're all striving to give power to the student body, you know, because that's what social media is so powerful, that, you know, we have the control to really like bolster certain opinions or really like crush certain opinions, and I want to be able for us to like raise the overall outlook on the people who matter, you know.
Yeah. My final question is, what do you believe is the most important aspect of the marketing director position?
uh, I would say it's being self-aware. You know, like I talked about in something on my website was, you know, like it's amazing. It's like a necessity to be transparent. You know, a necessity to like have that background knowledge of like Adobe Suite and stuff. Like it's great. You know, it's great to be able to edit a video, but if you're not self-aware, then your content is going to be awful. Like if you don't know where you come from, then people are going to read that, and I'm just going to come off as some like corporate Twitter. You know, like I don't want ASCCR Instagram to come off like some Bed Bath and Beyond Twitter, you know, like where it's just like me trying super hard to fit in with trends or something, or me trying very hard to swing certain opinions or get people to like ACCR. Because at the end of the day, my goal isn't to get people to like ACCR, you know. that was something that would come naturally. If it's my only job, I feel like, is for me to really just know that I'm still a student, I'm equal to everyone else that I'm trying to communicate to, and just be a messenger for them. I care about branding a lot. I care about quality, and that's something I'm still going to execute and trying to make sure that our content is great. But at the same time, like, I'm not going to try and embellish anything that isn't true. Um, like, my background isn't student politics, it's marketing and being a Highlander. So that's all I care about at the end of the day.
All right. And is there anything else you would like to add?
Um, I think something I would want to add, I guess, just like a personal detail is just that if I were to get this position, like, I wouldn't look any differently at myself. I would want to work with a lot of students. I want to make sure that ASUCR is something that's very inclusive. And I like my main priority is honestly just not even trying to defeat this whole like image that ASUCR has retained. Um, because that's something that'll come naturally. Um, my main priority would be to honestly just give back to students. I want to make sure that I can do what I can, more than just giveaways, because I mean, like, that's cool and all to hold like giveaways and stuff and give someone like a computer, or give someone like, I don't know, like a gift card and stuff. But at the end of the day, students just want to know that they're tended for. They want to know that the school cares about what they're paying for. And that's something that I would do my best not to just, you know, to like advertise, but also communicate. I think that a lot of times something I've noticed internally is a lot of people in ASUCR, it's like people are scared, to communicate certain things because it's like they know that they're going to get negative backlash. But I mean, I would much rather just do a post where it's like, yeah, A, B, and C happened, and I know that we're going to get on for it type of thing, and we're going to get negative backlash. But at the end of the day, I would want people to know that we're at least able to own up to whatever has happened rather than try and dance around it and act like, like it just doesn't exist, because that was something that I wanted to attack with the whole like Q&A with Julian, because it's like, man, like, this is something that's gonna haunt us if we don't acknowledge it. We have to, even if we feel that it's not a responsibility, it doesn't help being just like egotistical about it and being like, oh, like, it's not our responsibility. They need to talk to UCR, like, we're just gonna avoid this problem. But at the end of the day, we're all students. We need to acknowledge that people are negatively affected by all of this, and the only way that we're going to be able to get through this is by banding together. And in doing so, I'm gonna tell my marketing director at the time, Will, who was great about it. He was very understanding, and he agreed with me that, yeah, we need to communicate and also just be there as a lending hand for students. Hold a Q&A, tell them what we're responsible for, ask what we can do to help, within our powers, which will also successfully, communicate like what we actually do in ACCR, but at the same time, like, just showing them that we're there in general, and not trying to be some sort of higher power, because there is just this whole like almost like bureaucratic look that ASUCR has received or been not given to people. I don't want to imply that it's their fault, but at least that's the sort of rhetoric that students give off.
Yeah, I mean, I've definitely seen it, but thank you for taking the time to do this interview. We really appreciate it.
No, yeah, of course. Did you have any final questions?
I guess one other question about the website. What
Mhm.
would is there anything you would want to change about the website?
Um, oh yeah, right, the ASUCR website. Honestly, it's just a little bit outdated in general. I mean, I think I think it we could work a little bit more just on spreading like content creation to there rather than it just being like more corporate. That's something I would definitely strive to actually like have like a dedicated role. That was something that we were trying to do in our committee, but it was something that wasn't really planned out until like maybe the middle of the year, just because we were focused on other things. But that's something I would definitely set aside. I would ask, obviously, like you can check my like campaign website. I'm not about to make ASUCR like some Wix website or anything. That's not my repertoire or something that I have in my skill set. So I would communicate that with ACCR, actually get like funding to have somebody, who can be paid to work on that website, because that's a ton of work, and also just be able to post things that are actually concurrent rather than, like one big event at a time. At least that would be my goal.
All right. Yeah, that was my final question. So again, thanks for doing this
Okay,
interview.
man.
All right.
All right.